love lives here.
And here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide, we are working with the theme this year of Living Everyday Wonder. And this month, we have been focused on the inner life. And the inner life mostly meaning our mental life. And you're like, oh no, mental life. Oh my goodness gracious. But we've been working on the inner life, and we've been looking at ways of applying everyday wonder to our inner life, to our mental capacity, to the way we think, to the way we move in the world. Yes? Yes, good. And so earlier this month, we talked about fear and what is the ultimate fear buster. And the ultimate fear buster we determined is love, right? Yes, imagine that. The ultimate fear buster is love, because if anytime we experience any kind of discord, any kind of disharmony, it's because we are in some sort of fear. And ultimately, what it all boils down to is it's the fear of separation, or it's the belief in separation. It's the belief in two powers, that there is another power opposed to the one power, opposed to the divine that is operating, that there is somehow me and another person, me and something separate or outside of me and, or spirit and something else. But what we know is that there's only the one power, the one presence, the one infinite eternal that I was talking about earlier, that we mentioned earlier. And why is this not coming back? It's just going to do what it's going to do, Michelle. So just we're just going to let it go. All right. And then, so we talked about that, and we gave you that tool that week of the fear to faith tool, where we walked through, remember, we walked through a little bit as to, all right, so what's the current situation? What do I really want to have happen? What is this quality of the divine? What is that great, beautiful quality that would support me having that, or me experiencing that? And then looking at, what is it that I am concerned about? What is it that I'm fearful of? And what is it that's kind of pulling me off track? And then when I get into that headspace, then what is the behavior that then follows that? And then we released the belief, we released the behavior, and we received that spirit is that high quality that we already are, right? You remember me talking about coffee that day? I released my belief in lack of coffee. I released my need to trample you to go get coffee. And then spirit is the coffee that I am, or the divine that I am, the abundance that I am. We remember that now? All right, just kind of bring you back to that. And then last week we talked about forgive to live. And Reverend Victoria, thank you so much for your words of wisdom as you shared forgive to live and talking about forgiveness. And all this week, I don't know if you're following on Facebook or Instagram, but if you're not, you're missing out. Because all this week, I've given you 3 additional tools this week to use. I shared with you loving kindness meditation. I shared with you a piece of the Ho'oponopono practice, as well as a forgive and release practice. So those are all on social media. Those are all on Facebook and Instagram. And then there's also questions that I've been posing every day, like, why is it so hard to forgive? Or who do I want to reconcile with? Or who must I seek forgiveness from? Oh, no. But they're all questions for contemplation. They're all opportunities to go deeper. And so you will see these moving forward. You will see these on social media. You have the opportunity to engage with questions based on the message, and as well as tools, practical tools for spiritual living everyday wonder, that when we apply these tools, the transformation tools, our lives are transformed. Our lives are changed when we actually apply the tool, not just learn about the tool, but actually apply the tool. I know I keep giving you homework, don't I? You're welcome. So this week, we've been working with Forgive to Live this past week. And that's part of the process of moving past fear and stepping into faith and forgiving and moving forward and advancing ourselves and allowing ourselves and providing ourselves, giving ourselves the freedom. Because when we forgive, we experience a greater sense of freedom. We let go of that which has been holding us back, or we let go of those ideas or those thoughts that have been holding us back when we are able to forgive. It's never about the other person. It's always about our own internal, right? So today, in keeping with this theme and in keeping with how this unfolds with this type of work, we're looking at pause and find the cause. Not just pause for the cause, where we all go to the bathroom and come back, right? Pause and find the cause is what we're looking at today. So in January, we had the opportunity, and I shared with you several different tools of approaching life with curiosity, yes? So when we find something, when we experience something, we have the opportunity to react to it like we always have in our conditioned patterns and our conditioned beliefs, or we have the opportunity to meet it head on and go, I'm really curious about this. I wonder what is really at play here. I wonder what is at work. I wonder why in the world is this happening the way this is happening, or I'm thinking what I'm thinking, or I'm doing what I'm doing, or I'm believing what I'm believing. We have the way of approaching it with curiosity. And when we do that, we are actually taking a pause. When we interrupt the regularly scheduled programming, which is what it is, right? When we are just reacting from what has been and we interrupt our regularly scheduled programming, then we are actually taking that pause and creating that space, creating that opportunity of curiosity, of wonder, of inquiry, rather than simply reacting. So last night, we wanted to watch something on TV, but we don't have that particular channel on TV, so we have a way of watching it on an iPad. So we thought, all right, maybe we can find a way of plugging the iPad into the TV. We've been thinking about this for a while. Maybe we can plug it into the TV. Well, it should be simple. And in theory, it's simple. And then all of a sudden, I'm triggered because I was like, here, let me do it. Which then, of course, triggers my beloved into the other pattern of, okay. Which then triggers me into, why can't we do this together? Why aren't you helping me do this? Which only then triggers my beloved to, I'm going to retreat further because now you're triggered. And so it was a very uncomfortable, very unnecessary when all we wanted to do was watch RuPaul's Drag Race UK. Good God. It became this thing. Especially for me, it really became this thing. I'm just like, oh my gosh. But in that moment, when I interrupted the regularly scheduled programming, I was like, what I committed to here with my beloved is not to behave this way, is not to jump like this, is not to get triggered on something that is so stupid and so ridiculous. My commitment is to my beloved and to have a deep, committed, loving relationship with my beloved, whom I honor and I respect, and I know is the beloved just as I am. That there is only one here, that we are loved, that we want the same thing. We both want to watch RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 2. It doesn't have to be anything other than that. So there was the opportunity to interrupt that. And then there's the opportunity then to pause and find the cause. Right. Damn that onion, that proverbial onion that just I have to keep peeling and layer after layer after layer. And then it seems like, oh my gosh, here it is again. I thought I dealt with that years ago. And yet here it is showing up over a USB cord and mirroring, screen mirroring. Good grief. And it's funny now, and it's fun now, but this is exactly what we are invited to do. We are invited to pause and then find the cause. And it's like, oh, right. So this is how this is playing out tonight. Okay. And once I recognized that I was caught in my old pattern, I was caught in my old behavior, I was caught still in the belief. The belief that I've got to be the one, that I've got to take care of things, that I've got to be the one who looks out for somebody else, that I've got to be the one that has the solution, that I've got to be the one that takes care of my beloved or my family, that it's up to me. And then I realized that, oh, I'm caught in that. And I'm also caught in the resentment of having to be in that role for so many years. And now I'm just mad because, like, why can't you figure it out? Why? And it has nothing to do with RuPaul's Drag Race. It has nothing to do with us trying to stream or mirror the TV or plug it in. I got caught. And the reason we get caught, beloveds, is because the onion, that onion that we're all trying to peel, and we think we think we're done with it. What's really at the root is the belief, is the false belief. It's that false belief in separation. It's that false belief in otherness. It's that false belief. And then it is not only that false belief of separation, that false belief of other. It's not only that, but then it's also the coping mechanism. It's also that behavior that we were talking about, right? That, okay, I don't want to feel this, and I'm experiencing this, and I don't want to feel this, so how do I get out of feeling this? I do this thing over here. I release the belief. I release the behavior. Right? So it's something that's so simple, right? It's simple. Come on, it's simple. And yet, we get hooked. Just like, the vaudeville stage, they get hooked and pulled back. But the beauty about doing this, beloveds, the beauty about interrupting our patterns, the beauty about approaching this all of a sudden from a place of curiosity and going, wait a minute, let me pause and find the cause of what's going on here, because it's not RuPaul, it's not my husband, and it's not the TV. What is really going on here? Let me take that pause and find the cause. The cause, is that false belief. And what do we know that we can do with causes here, beloveds? If we want to change our external environment, what do we need to do? Go somewhere else. I guess that's an option. Problem is we take ourselves with us when we go. So what we know is the creative process works like this. There is an idea in consciousness that gets planted into the creative medium that then shows up as form. So the first cause is spirit. The first cause is consciousness. So if I want to experience something differently in my life, I have to go back to cause. What is the cause? Oh, I have an errant belief. All right, so what do I need to do with that errant belief? I need to replace that errant belief with something that I actually do believe, with a piece of truth that I do know to be the highest and best. So then I replace that errant belief with truth that I know to be true, that I believe to be true, with belief. I place that there, and then what happens? That starts a whole nother chain of cause and effect. It creates something new. So I plant that seed, that new seed, into the creative medium or the law or mind, whatever you want to call it. I plant that creative seed, I plant that idea into my consciousness, into my subconsciousness, and I fertilize it and I water it, and I continue to feed the new thought. I continue to feed the new belief. I continue to feed the truth. I continue to keep my mind, as the song said, stayed on spirit, stayed on truth. I continue to keep my mind stayed there. And what happens then? I experience a different result. I experience a different effect. I experience a changed reality. Yes? And so the more I do that, the more I catch myself, the more I interrupt myself, the quicker I am to get back to where I need to be. Because every single thought is not creative. Ooh, did you hear me? Thank God it's not. It's the propensity of our thoughts. It is the collection, it is the propensity of our thoughts, and it is the propensity of our feeling in addition to thought that creates the belief, what we come to believe about ourselves. And it's not done to us as we think, it's done to us as we believe. And I don't like saying it's done to us as, right? Ooh, it makes it sound like something outside is doing something to me. Right? But it's internal. It is the belief from within. It is what it is that we are believing. It is what it is that we are holding to be true for us, for our experience, that's then what we begin to experience in our lives. But the same is true when we're holding a false belief, yes? That when we're holding a false belief and we're holding on to that and we're continuing to feed that false belief, we're continuing to feed that, then what happens outside us too? Confirmation. It's just more confirmation. It's only confirming what I'm putting out because I'm believing, and the law is no respecter of persons. The law is the law. Creation is creation. Creativity is creativity. So what is it that I'm believing? I'm believing that this person has power over me. I'm believing that this situation has power over me. Then what happens? I'm feeding it. I'm experiencing it. I'm living it. But when I interrupt and I recognize that, oh no, thou couldst have no power over me unless it was given thee of God. That I am one with the one, that one with spirit is a majority. When I realize the who of who I am, and I focus there and I bring my attention there, I was like, you know what? There is not anything outside of me. There is not anything opposed to me. There is not anything standing in my way. There is only love happening here. Then what begins to happen, what I begin to see, is my life shifts. My perspective shifts. What I'm focusing on shifts. And then what is confirmed for me shifts. That's why we say heaven and hell is a state of consciousness, not a place we're headed. Breathe. And so we can get caught also in the trap, in the new thought trap of then, okay, well, if I'm the co-creator of my reality, if I create my life, if I create all this that's happening to me, then I created all the bad. We don't take credit for the good. Somehow we manage to take credit for the bad. And then back in the day, we'd go around and say awful things like, ooh, what's in your consciousness? Were you thinking to create that? Not the way it works. Not the way it works. It's a very superficial and shallow understanding of the way it works. When all of a sudden we're assigning blame and shame on each other, all we're doing is we're putting ourselves back into Kingdom One consciousness. We're putting ourselves back into victim mode consciousness. But we're coming from a place of thinking that, oh, yes, we're enlightened because I know how to create my reality. I know how to create my life. And clearly you don't, because you stubbed your toe. It was a very arrogant time in our movement. It was a very unhealthy time in our movement. I'm so glad that we are past that time of our movement. It still lingers every once in a while. And those of us who were involved in the movement back then, sometimes it still lingers in us now. And we internalize that, and we feel like, ooh, they're going to judge me. I have a sniffle. My car broke down. You know what? I just won't go today. But we're beyond that, yes? Let me ask that again. We're beyond that, yes? Thank you. I would certainly hope so. Because that's just back to low-level, icky, yucky separation, division, divisiveness, false belief, believing in shame, believing that there's something wrong, believing that there's something other, believing that there is anything other than perfection happening. That's all that is. It's a false belief. It's a false belief that worked its way into the movement for a while, but it's still a false belief. And it's a false belief that we collectively get to clean up. Because guess what? Not everything is your own individual thought, your own individual propensity of thought. Not everything is that, because we live in this collective consciousness with 7.5 other billion people on the planet, and all of the ancestors who've come before us, and the collective consciousness that has been brought forward. So we live in this collective consciousness. So it's not just our consciousness, it's not just our individualized consciousness that creates situations that we share experiences with. It is a collective consciousness. How many of us have bought into, well, it's flu season? Right? Or cultural things of having to have the newest car or the newest technology or the newest and greatest, because newest is best. These two are examples of that collective consciousness that is also creating, because we buy into it, and we buy into it perhaps at a very young age. Because this is what the society in which we've been enculturated is teaching us. It's what we've come to know and agree upon. It's like, oh, so that's how that works. That's how the fear works. When all of us are buying into it, when all of us are buying into that otherness, when we're buying into that separation, then those for whom they are experiencing separation greatest can then convince others that, oh, you're not as good either. Oh, you better get yours before they do. Let me launch a land grab. Let me tell you your family's wrong. Let me convince others to tell you your family is wrong. And so what is the cause behind that? What is the cause behind that? It's that sense of separation. And then it is a collective sense of separation. And what did we just talk about? That is where our belief is. That is what we continue to perpetuate it until we interrupt it. Until we interrupt it. So when you and I stop giving separation a place to operate, when you and I stop giving lack a place to operate, when you and I stop giving any of those feelings of otherness a place to operate, we start to clean up our area of the street. When I stop giving that separation, that sense of separation, that sense of I have to be the one to do it, when I give that up, when I begin to give that up, not only does my relationship with my beloved improve, but my relationship with people around me improves. Not only does my people around me improve, but I'm no longer giving it a place to operate within me so that it doesn't have another place to operate. I cease participating in the perpetuation of the separation. And so this is where our individual work comes in. When we pause and find the cause, it's like, this is going on again. Isn't that curious? Then when we approach it with that curiosity and we approach it with that wonder, when we approach it with that awe, it doesn't have the bite that it did. And then solutions start to arise. Opportunities start to arise. Different ways of being start to arise because we've now created a space in our consciousness. We've now created a space for the divine to show guidance, to show direction, to show possibility. And as we're all doing this together, we begin to shift as a community. We begin to shift as a people. When we are doing this work together, things change. Life changes. And being in spiritual community is such a lovely thing because it's really where we come to rub off our rough edges, isn't it? It's kind of like one of those rock polishing machines, that tumbles the rocks, And then when we come out of the machine, all of a sudden we're like, oh, shiny and smooth. But that's part of being in spiritual community, because being in spiritual community is a safe place to tumble. Because we understand that, this is at play here. I recognize you. I see you for spirit. I see you as the love that you are in all of your messy humanness. That's fantastic. I still see you. I love you. I recognize the who of who you are. And that creates a safe space for us. That creates a safe container for us to ooh, let me scratch my back here. Get rid of that little itch. Rub off that sharp edge. And be one with the one. Be one with one another. So your tool this week that I want you to take with you is this. The transformation tool. When you find that one little thing, whatever it is that's got you upset, got your knickers in a twist, right? Whatever that thing is, I invite you to interrupt that thing. That's first and foremost. Interrupt it. See what it is. What's really going on here? What's there? And then, if you can, go back to that formative place where you first encountered this word of error, this thing. Go back to that formative place. Feel into that formative place and feel, what is it that I was feeling? What did I think about this situation? And what did I feel about this situation? What was it that I was feeling? Because that thought plus that feeling then created a belief. So what is it that I came to believe based on the situation, based on my feelings in the situation? What is it that I came to believe? And then fast forward back to here and now, like, oh, how is this playing out in my life today? It's playing out over me being a total jerk, and all I want to do is watch Drag Race with my husband. Okay, I see that now. And so then what is the higher truth to be known? That's the next question. What is the higher truth in this moment to be known? And how is that expressing in my life right now? So the higher truth in this situation is, you know what? I love him. He loves me. And the higher truth is that none of this really matters. The higher truth is that we are happy together, that we enjoy each other's company, that we can have fun together. That's the higher truth. And that's what I want to experience. And so once I know the higher truth, once you know the higher truth of whatever it is your situation is, that becomes your next cause. That becomes the seed that you water, you nurture, and you grow. And life is transformed. A life is changed. Something to work with this week? Got your homework there, Ray? Oh, yeah, okay. And Allison, I know you've been taking notes in your journal, so I know you've got your homework written down. Okay, Sally's got her homework written down. Everybody's got their homework written down. All right. And most of all, be curious, have fun with it. It doesn't have to be like, oh my God, and re-traumatize yourself. No, it doesn't have to be a trauma event. It doesn't. No, stop. Have fun with it. Experiment. Play, take some place that's really easy or fun and funny. Like, okay, so this is an interesting situation. How did I end up here? Oh, okay. And go there and see and explore there and have fun. Play, be curious, live every day, wonder. And so it is. All right, so I invite our practitioners and ministers who may be visiting us, if they so choose, to please stand and surround the sanctuary. And these beloveds hold this community and Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide in prayer on a daily basis. And they are available to you for prayer. They're also available to you to help you if you choose to want to work through some of the stuff. They're also available for that as well. So let's just take a nice deep breath in and out. And how good it is to know that there simply is just this one power, this one presence, this one life, this one infinite eternal, the isness, the allness, the fullness, the totality of being is consciousness itself. And it is conscious of itself, and it is through its own consciousness and consciousness of itself that it brought forth all of life, all of creation, that there is only one source, one substance, one supply. And so I know that all of life, all of creation is the divine made manifest, is the divine is the divine emanation and impartation of Spirit, is the divine manifestation of Spirit, is the divine demonstration of Spirit itself, knowing itself through itself and as itself. And it is forever maintaining and sustaining its beloved creation. It is forever giving. It is the ever givingness of Spirit. It is the ever givingness of life. This ever givingness, Ernest Holmes called love. And so what I know is that Spirit is love. The divine is love, that love is all that there is, and that I am one with this one. It is the very who of who I am. There is no place in me where love is separate from me, could be anything other than me. There is no way that I could be anything other than love made manifest, because there is just this one power, this one presence. And as I know that this is true of me, I know that this is true of all of life, of all of creation, of each and every one gathered here this day, of each and every one on the planet, that love is all there is. Love is the true nature of everyone's being, of everyone's essence. Love is the consciousness that is. And so I speak my word here and now for this beloved community, recognizing that we are willing, we are able, and we choose to do the work that has been put before us, recognizing that it is spirit that goes before us and makes the crooked places straight. It is love that goes before us. It is love that leads the way. It is love that points the way. It is love that shows the way. It is love that heals anything that is unlike itself. It is love that heals the way. It's love that heals whatever is in our heart. It is love that heals any sense of separation. It is love that reminds us of who we truly are. It is love that reminds us of our oneness. And so we awaken to that now. We realize that now. We fully realize love. We fully realize and embody it. And as we embody it, we embody. Love is incarnate. Love takes form. Love expresses itself more fully, completely in this realm of existence through each and every one of us. And so we go forth from this place this day as the power and the presence of love, because that is who we truly are. That is all we are. And so we shine the light, we shine the love, we share the love with one another, we share the love with everyone we come into contact with, we share the love around the planet. We withhold nothing. There is nothing to withhold. We express and we give generously and fully. We give the love that we are, and it is love that we receive in return. And so I give thanks for this awareness. I give thanks for this truth. I give thanks for the recognition that love is first cause, only cause. And so I return to cause. I return to love. I release this word now, knowing it is so, knowing it is done. I let it be, knowing that all is well and unfolding as it should. And so it is.
Love